Hello, and welcome to the fourth episode of the Flashtronauts. My fellow Flashmate, Constance Malloy, had a solo expedition to do tonight. So I'll be going on a solo voyage with you tonight. So thank you for joining me. We have a special treat tonight. I'll be reading a story by Lynn Mundell called Sister Wives at the County Fair, and it was first published in Smoke Long Quarterly. But before we get started, I want to talk a little bit about what's happening in the ever-expanding universe of flash fiction. It's November, and that means it's NaNoWriMo Month, which is National Novel Writing Month. But us flashers, we have our own flash version, thanks to Nancy Stolman, who hosts the Flash Nano. It's kind of in conjunction with NaNoWriMo. And I know it's a few days into November, but you can still sign up, I believe. That's at Nancy's website at nancystolman.com. And what Flash Nano is Nancy will give a prompt every day. So you can write 30 prompts in 30 days. By signing up, you have support and community and encouragement. So it's fun. I've done it before, and I've done NaNoWriMo before as well. I'm not doing them this month. I have a new challenge for myself, and it's just to write for 30 minutes every day. And it's a reachable goal for me, and so far I've been doing it, so it made me really happy. Okay, so let's move on to Lynn Mundell. Let me get my glasses. All right. This is not good. Lynn Mundell's writing has been published in Smoke Long Quarterly, 5 Points, Tin House, The Sun, and elsewhere. Her work has placed in the Wigleaf Top 50 Very Short Fictions, short and long lists, and earned the 2019 Lasso Prize in Creative Nonfiction. She is co-founder and co-editor of 100 Word Story and its anthology, Nothing Short of. Her chapbook, Let Our Bodies Be Returned to Us, will be published by Yemassee in early 2022. Let me get a drink here. Okay. Sister Wives at the County Fair. Funhouse. As the newest wife, Trudy always comes last. 6 of 7 nights, she straddles the main cushion of her sofa sectional. It is the approximate dimensions of husband, or close enough. Today she trails the other wives, their linen backsides suddenly swerving left to enter a doorway painted to look like a clown's open mouth. Inside, fluorescent lights make their matching pants glow. The other wives conjoin in a distorted mirror. They form one long bolster, pink and stiff. Fair food. The sister wives are on a budget, so they share jumbo hot dogs. At Building C, everyone chips in for a set of Tupperware. Trudy is handed the smallest bowl, the size of her diaphragm. She sees it's good for holding nothing, except for the nub of the leftover wiener marked with other women's teeth. Freaks. The sword swallower faces his audience, which today is a dozen boys, a handful of women, and a stray dog. Each summer, fewer people come to see Lion Boy, Pinhead, the oldest skeleton, embarrassing relics like ancient fur coats. As he drops the weapon down his esophagus, the sword swallower visualizes fat lady naked, a hill of vanilla soft serve, so he won't have to think about the blade gliding past his vital organs. Then slowly he removes the sword, bows to the scatter of audience, of applause. Excuse me. The 5 women in front must be sisters, with their old-fashioned gathered hairdos, their same sympathetic smiles, as if they could ever know what it's like to be a sideshow. Animal husbandry. Hay is springy underfoot. At the end of a dusty barn, the sister wives find rows of connected rabbit hutches. They watch one another, watching the animals spotlit by warming lamps. Rabbits mate, sleep, nibble, even give birth. At home, Trudy's kitchen window faces original wife's bathroom. Sometimes she sees husband, his furred chest being soaked by a womanly hand wearing a wedding ring identical to her own. Flock. The bird has become separated from the others. It flies over the fair's rides, which are a marvel of synchronization. In large flocks of starlings, each bird coordinates its movement with its 7 nearest neighbors, so they never crash, but instead roll and swoop together like a giant apron, flapping in the wind. The bird doesn't know the word family, but that's what it wants, even a strange new one, wings beating rhythmically all around it, another's tail feathers to follow. The big wheel. The 4 wives pair up, cramming into the hot metal seats. Trudy is abandoned to sit with someone's daughter. Strangers wave goodbye. The ride stalls with their chair at the top, lurching hundreds of feet in the air. When the teenager begins to cry, Trudy sings one gospel song after another, all that she knows. They hold hands as they drop down, eventually return to the families stuck waiting for spare girls. Final season. After several years of the hit reality TV show, America's most famous polygamist is filmed asking to not be called a polygamist, which he says makes him sound like a criminal or a 19th century rube. On the screen, his 3 wives roll their eyes. The years are speeding ahead with them aboard. One is studying to be an EMT, another has filed for divorce. The polygamist's 8th child marries and says she'd never in a million years be in a plural marriage. Looking into the camera, she says she's the family's first feminist, that she now goes by Ms. Last Stand Shooting Gallery. Trudy grew up on a ranch and is an excellent shot. She picks off the tin ducks until a crowd grows. The carney makes her an offer. She can have her choice of the stuffed toys if she'll just go away. Trudy tosses a purple giraffe over her shoulder to the wives like a wedding bouquet. She buckles her life-size Superman stuffed with plastic pellets on top of herself for the van ride home. While he's a dead weight, he gives her something of her own to hang on to. So that's Sister Wives at the County Fair by Lynn Mundell, published in Smoke Lawn Quarterly. Pretty awesome. It's a fragmented flash, which means it's like in sections, and each one had a heading, as you could tell when I was reading it. I really like fragmented flash for several reasons. One being they're like little micro stories, and they're each a little micro story of their own, and telling them together, stringing them together is like a bigger story. You see a larger arc of the story, but I love the little snapshots. It's like looking at little photographs or Polaroids. So I really like that. And I also like it because, and I was listening to Tara Stilson's Whitehead in conversation interview she did with my fellow Flashtronaut, Connie Malloy, on Connie's website. And I'll put all these links and things below in the description box. But it was such a good interview. But she mentioned that at one point, one of her instructors, and I don't remember the name or at what school, but he gave her the advice to drop time markers in some of her stories or poems. She does poetry. And fragmented flash is a good way to do that. So like time markers would be first they did this, then they did that, afterwards they did this, and having the first and second and third and telling the reader exactly what happened in what order. And it's really handy in Flash to get rid of those as much as you can. And like I said, fragmented is a good way to do that, and you can move things around in time, which is really helpful. And really, when you cut those time markers, most of the time you find that you don't need them, just simply because of the way you're writing it and the order you're writing things. People kind of pick up on that naturally. I mean, sometimes you have to have them in there, but in your writing next time, look at how many time markers you have and see how you can get rid of them. and see how that reads. But I love county fairs. I love circuses. So I was really drawn to this story by the title. But what's really interesting is the sister wives aspect, and it makes it so much more flashtastic. I've seen a few stories in our queue at New Flash Fiction Review where I read about county fairs, and they're usually about like first love, young love at the county fair. And you can certainly write about that, but it's kind of been done before. And what I like about this story is about sister wives. It's about polygamy at a county fair, and I just think that is so intriguing how she thought to use that. And that's what it's all about with Flash, with being unique, is how you can blend things together, things that may not naturally go together, like Sister Wives at the County Fair. I'm going to say that, Sister Wives at the County Fair. I just love that, Sister Wives at the County Fair. And I just love the fragments. And as we read these stories, I always pick out like my favorite line, which is so hard to do. But I think my favorite line is, "At home, Trudy's kitchen window faces original wife's bathroom. Sometimes she sees husband, his furred chest being soaped by a womanly hand, wearing a wedding ring identical to her own." But what also I found interesting was we're really close to Trudy and her perspective in most of these fragments, but there was a couple different ones, like in Freaks, more the point of view of the sword swallower and how other people view the sister wives, which I thought was smart to do. And also, it's interesting the one about the bird and how that kind of talked about family or not family. That was an interesting thing to include there as well. So Lynn Mundell, she's an excellent writer. Of course, I'm going to put her website in the description box. I urge you to read more of her. She has a really good Nancy Drew story that is also one of my favorites. She has a lot of good stuff. So I highly recommend you check her out. But as we've started to do on the Flashtronauts, we've started to ask questions to the authors. So we ask the same question to see the different answers that we get. So we asked Lynn, what is your greatest challenge as a writer? And Lynn told us that her greatest challenge is, I work full time, and probably like most, it's a challenge to not only find the time, but to use it well. I tend to stay with one story very intensively. So when I get bumped out to go to work, I sometimes lose the thread, and it is an effort to get back with it. I also tend to be pretty self-critical. That said, I am not put off by rejections from literary magazines, and the excitement of writing, submitting, and seeing a story published never gets old. And I did have a brief conversation with Lynn on Twitter, is that I do write similarly. I tend to work with one story intensively, and I know what she says about losing the thread. Now, what happens to me is I do lose the original thread a lot, and I get scattered, and I don't know which direction to take it in. Um, so I am like hers, that we need to keep in that the heat of the moment of the thread, and that's what's hard to do when you have life and challenges. I'm just wondering if other people have that same issue. The second question is, who are the writers, living or dead, you turn to for inspiration? She says, I love to read everything from mysteries to the classics to flash fiction. I idolize Jane Austen for her understanding of humans, how they tick, their foibles, and their glory. I tend to write more surreal or fantasy flash lately, and I would say Neil Gaiman is a hero. Like many writing flash, I think I admire Lydia Davis, Edgar Correct, and Raymond Carver. May he rest in peace. There are really too many great flash writers at work these days to list. When I am looking for flash inspiration, I will buy one of the best microfiction or best small fictions anthologies, or read the latest Wigleaf top 50 short fictions. I love the way there always seem to be new ways to create in the short form. Very well said. Okay, so there was one thing I wanted to talk about before we left. Okay, so the one thing I wanted to mention is on Twitter. We don't tweet a lot from Flashtronauts, but we're trying to do more, and I'm going to try to put up some more submission opportunities. So if you're looking for places to submit your Flash, check us out in the next week or two. We should have some more opportunities just sharing where you can submit your Flash fiction. So thanks for joining me tonight on the Flashtronauts, and we'll see you soon. Stay safe, stay healthy, and stay flashing.